time for the exciting adventures of Sky Girl Reporter.
Today I'm back at the Festival of Books. If you remember the last time I was there, I interviewed the legendary Ziggy Marley, who was there to promote his children's book, Pajamas. If you missed it, here's a little snippet. Hi, I'm with Ziggy Marley, so let's say hi. Hi.
What's up, Sky?
My first question is, a lot of people don't know your name is actually not Ziggy. How did you get your name? To find out all about him and his book, check out the video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm talking to comedy genius Larry Charles. He was there to promote his autobiography, Comedy Samurai. If you don't know who he is, he was the writer, director, and co-creator of Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and Borat. I asked him all that and what he learned from working with Bob Dylan. Whoops, I accidentally forgot to ask him about Borat. But he talked about all of those projects and more. As you can see, it was very windy that day, but it didn't worry Larry. In fact, he said it was one of the most enjoyable interviews he has ever done. Check it out. Hey everybody, welcome back to Sky Girl Reporter, and I'm here with Larry Charles, so let's say hi. Hi.
Hi there.
My first question is, how did you get started with comedy?
Well, when I was a child, my father was a comedian, and he just exposed me to a lot of comedy. We had a lot of laughter in the house, and I just kind of naturally gravitated towards it.
How did you get involved with Jerry Seinfeld?
Well, Jerry Seinfeld I first met when I was on a TV show called Fridays, and he was on a show called Benson, and he wound up getting fired from that show and thought his career was over, and then many years later I met him through Larry David, and we wound up working together.
Were you surprised of the success of the show?
Very, very. I thought it was going to be a failure. So did Jerry, so did Larry. So success is always a surprise, a pleasant surprise, but it was a very big surprise, yes.
Later you worked with Larry David on Curb Your Enthusiasm. What was the difference between working on those two shows?
Well, Curb was an improvisational show, so there was no script. Seinfeld was very tightly written, very specifically written, but Curb would just have an outline, and then we would improvise around that. So, and I directed Curb, where I was a writer on Seinfeld. So all those experiences made it very, very different, but both were a lot of fun.
What are the qualities of being a good comedian?
In my opinion, the qualities of being a good comedian are being the best version of yourself on stage. Like, lots of people are funny. If we walk through the crowd here, you'd hear people being funny and laughing. But to do that on stage in front of an audience, that's really, really hard. And the people that can do their best version of themselves on stage are usually the best comedians.
Is there a technique you have for writing comedy?
The technique is starting from scratch every time you do it. You have to stare at a blank page, which is frightening. But once you start putting the words down on the page, you just follow your instincts and it'll begin to flow.
You've been a producer, writer, and director. Is there one you like more than the others?
I probably like directing the most when I'm directing and writing the most when I'm writing. Producing comes along with all of it, but I do like being in a room by myself and writing. That is something I do enjoy. Directing is a more social experience, and if you're in the mood for that, directing can be very fulfilling, but it also means you have to interact with a lot of people whether you want to or not.
What's your new book about?
My new book, which is called Comedy Samurai, is about my career. Starting in 1980 when I worked on a TV show called Fridays, up until about 2022 when I did a show called Larry Charles' Dangerous World of Comedy. So that's a couple of years ago. I've done a few things since then, and I'm continuing to work. But I had to stop the book somewhere because it was getting too long.
I heard you worked with Bob Dylan. How was that?
That was a one-of-a-kind experience, a life-changing experience. Bob Dylan is a very unusual person. He's like a guru, very wise beyond his time on Earth somehow. He knows things that nobody else knows, and he knows when he doesn't know things as well. So I learned a lot from him, and it was a fantastic experience that I still cherish to this day.
What's something specific you learned from Bob Dylan?
I would say the most important thing I learned from Bob Dylan was not to be afraid of failure and to trust your instincts. That was the most important thing, and I've tried to live by that philosophy.
Is there a favorite project you've worked on?
That's a hard question. I mean, I've had a lot of favorites. I enjoyed working with Bob Dylan on that movie. It was called Masked and Anonymous. Religulous was a documentary I made, kind of a comedy about religion, nonfiction. I did a show called Larry Charles' Dangerous World of Comedy, which was very challenging. And I did a movie a couple of years ago that was originally called, it had a dirty name really, which I'm not going to say here. And even the name we changed it to is not so great. So, but I did a musical a couple of years ago, and I'd never done a musical before, and that was a lot of fun also. I like doing new challenges.
What's the biggest challenge you've had working in Hollywood?
Surviving. It's hard to survive. There's a lot of challenges. No one's going to help you. No one cares if you fail. You have to take a lot of personal responsibility in Hollywood. That's the way to survive.
Is there anything else you want people to know about you?
That I'm enjoying this interview maybe more than any one I've ever done before, and it was great to meet you, Sky.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I want to really thank Larry for his time and the amazing interview he gave, and I hope to see you next time on Sky Girl Reporter with a new adventure. Bye!